this is Rob with Grey Duck Quetico. I just wanted to share with you a little bit of a project that I'm working on today. This is me installing the track system on a Quetico board. So this is our 14-foot Quetico. I just got this in our warehouse. And what I'm going to do today is install the tracks on the rail, as well as there's 3 sets of tracks that go on the nose of the board for additional accessories. And so the way this works is each of these black dots, both on the Quetico and our all-day hybrid, represent a spot where you can drill into the board. There's high-density polyethylene underneath the surface of the board there, and so we can drill into that and secure track system to that. So what we'll be doing today is working through kind of tips and tricks on getting that installed. So equipment that I'm using, I've got drill with a 7/64 size bit. I've got a separate drill with the Phillips head on it. I've got my tape measure for measuring across the widths to keep that consistent and parallel all the way down. I've got my screws, and then I've got my ram track with, I'll pop these 2 ends off of this side and use this center connector, and I'll make this one long track. And then we'll install those 3 up on the nose in those sections as well. So at this point I have removed the end caps off the ends of these and added in the center. So this is one long strip right now. And then I've dry fit each item kind of where it needs to be. One of the things I'm looking for is just making sure that there's a hole in the track somewhere where the black dots exist, and just making sure that I've got room with every mounting point to actually mount the track there properly. So I've dry fit these to kind of where I want them. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to secure the center points first and get that a consistent measurement on the width of that. And then I'll make sure that as I move to the ends, that width stays consistent. So the very first thing I'm going to do now is drill in there and get a measurement. So what we're doing is we're actually drilling into the board with little stainless steel screws. And this bit is 7/64, and I've got a little tape mark here to denote when to stop drilling. It's about the same depth as the screw. I've accounted for a little bit of the depth of the plastic or the track itself in that measurement. And so now I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill with this, and then I'll sink that screw into the spot that I drilled in. A couple things to note. Obviously, when you're screwing into this piece of the track where it is the aluminum, you don't have to worry about over torquing very much because it'll just stop. In these corners, this plastic is soft, so you do have to be somewhat aware of when to stop screwing in, because you can just poke right through that if you over torque it. So just be aware of that. Just so you guys know what's coming out of the spots when you drill into the board, this is the remnant of the HDPE that's coming out. So that's what you get when you're drilling into the board. No foam there. So I'm on the other side of the board now. That is the screw that I just sunk, and now I'm just measuring across to see approximately what the width is going to be. It's looking like about 22 1/8. And so what I'm going to try to do is just, again, kind of dry fit this to make sure that at 22 1/8 we're staying within the spots that we need to stay in order to secure it properly to the board. Now that I've got these 2 center pieces secured with the distance between them of about 22 1/8, measuring from the outside to the inside. And again, if you're doing this on a Quetico, it's not necessarily going to be exactly that measurement. Same thing with an all-day hybrid. But the key is just trying to make them consistently the same width across. So your board may be slightly different than that. So now I'm going to go up to these top 2 spots, measure again, make sure that they're the same distance, and then I'll secure these in as well. Okay, so I've got these two secured, those two secured. Now I'm gonna go to this end and secure these again, just keeping all of this parallel. And then once that's done, it's super simple. You just drill into those 4 spots because the track is already then fully secure in the spacing that needs to be. Okay, I've also secured these now, and they're all good to go. I do just go through the ends on these guys, and that's partly due to the fact that if there was something that you were using here, like a fishing rod holder, and you over torqued it, you could potentially, rather than trying to pull out of the board, I'd rather have these tabs just break off. So some of that is just due to the fact that from an engineering perspective, I'd rather have these break than something modified here that pulls out of the board. Here we're spreading the load out enough that I don't feel like there's a lot of risk of having anything necessarily pull out, just because of the fact that we're spreading that load across so many mounting points. So just a little bit of background on that as well. The other thing I guess to think about too is just, this might seem intimidating to a lot of people. I would say it's really not. It's drilling a hole and putting a screw in it. Taking a little bit of time to just make sure that you're organized makes sense, but it really shouldn't be anything that you're intimidated by. It's pretty straightforward. The other part of our sit carry system is the actual seat / portage yoke. And so the way this comes is you've got the screws and the bolts, you've got the bungee dealy bobs that we've already routed through the aluminum, the straps that act as both the shoulder harness when you're using it as a portage yoke or as the seat when you're sitting. And then we just have to put this together. So if it gets shipped, it's likely gonna look like something like this when you get it. Otherwise, we can do all of this work here in Minneapolis and then deliver the board complete with all of this already in. So if you're working with a dealer and you're pre-ordering, just tell them you want this pre-installed and we can make that happen. Okay, so now we're here with the seat, kind of just sitting on the board. So you'll notice that these are just friction fits. So this can expand based on the width of the board and width of the track. So on the Quetico, it's gonna be a little bit narrower. On the all-day hybrid, it'll be spread out a little bit. So the other thing to note is that this spot here is also friction fit. So this is just webbing canvas that slides along this tube. So in this position is meant for sitting. And then when you go to portage it, you just slide this out. Same thing here, you slide it out. I can't do it with one hand, but you just friction fit it out, and that gives you room for your head and shoulders to fit through. And so all this is to secure this track is a little T-bolt that rides in the track. So you just install that and tighten it down. You do the same thing on the other side. You just slide that back. And again, it's just based on where you want to, like if you want to use it as a seat, you're going to position it maybe a little bit further back than this, but maybe right here. You just tighten it down. And then when you want to portage the board, you want to have the center of this over the handle. That'll keep the board balanced. So you're going to slide this and probably secure it more towards this spot on the track. And again, this is an option. So you can buy the Quetico or the all-day hybrid as a bare board and then install this later, or you can order it with the sit carry system already pre-installed on it, and we'll do the pre-installation here for free. And when it gets to the dealer or you pick it up from us or get it delivered from us, it will be ready to go.